Okay, first try. Let's give it a try. Um, Purple Heart Challenge. I got my notes wrote down, and bifocals, you gotta look down. And I can't see myself unless I look like this. But this is my Purple Heart Challenge. My name is Joyce Bird. My maiden name is Joyce Bird. I've tried this several times and I cry. So warning, I'm not here to make anybody cry. It just, I get that way. I'm old. Very old. My father got a Purple Heart. He lost a shoulder blade. I guess you could say he's luckier than others who lost a lot more. My uncle lost a leg. That's another story. I'm going to start with my dad's story the best I can, the best I know how. What I've gathered from my brother who had some papers, my memory that people told me, like my mother, my dad, what little I know, and my Aunt B just recently told me. So here we go. I want to challenge anybody who has a Purple Heart, who inherited a Purple Heart, who knows somebody who has a Purple Heart, who has a Purple Heart. I want this to be a Purple Heart challenge for YouTube viewers and everyone out there. In 1942, I want to speak loud and clear because so many YouTubers whisper, and I try to watch their show, and I just can't hear them. So you may need to turn the volume down. I'm going to give it a try. On July the 15th, 1942, my dad got on a bus at 8:30 a.m. in Tuscumbia, Alabama, going to New York. Dad had a tea patch, and my brother, I thought it was Tennessee, but my brother said it was from Texas. It looked like an arrowhead, you know. He was in the infantry, the army, of course, and I know he went to Italy. His mother has a little aluminum bracelet, a piece of one, that he must have brought back to her. It was, I think it said Sicily on it. I know he went to Italy. And he spoke of Normandy. Now, I don't know if Remiremont, France is in Normandy or exactly where it is. I haven't looked it up yet. I don't have a map. This is times when you wish you had a paper map. You can buy a road map. My son gave me a trucker's road map. I used to have them. I used to drive a truck. He gave me his old one and got himself a new one. Well, see, times like this when you wish you had one of another country, I'd love to look it up. On we go. I'm trying not to cry. In Remiremont, France, 1944, he was shot. And he lay there in that field. Bear with me. And a man came along And he was taking jewelry off the dead. I suppose he was starving too. He reached for Dad's watch, and Dad gave a little resistance and told the man, "I'll give it to you if you give me some help." I do it every time. You'd think after the first time I'd quit. And of course he got that help. I wouldn't be here if he hadn't. I don't know who he was. He's probably not alive now anyway. But it took a long time for him to recover from his injuries. That was in 1944. 3 months in 1945 he was in New York. Mother told me he was in England hospital for a while, and a nurse named Joyce took care of him, and that's why they named me Joyce. She said she named me Vera and Dad named me Joyce. And my maiden name is Bird. Everybody at home thought he was dead. I think Grandmother even got a letter that he was dead. And I think I've got a letter here somewhere that some people in France wrote her, and they thought he was dead. He got an honorable discharge in 1945. And, of course, he got a Purple Heart. I'll show you the Purple Heart. And I want everyone who has a Purple Heart, even if you don't have it now, to tell your story. This is what it's about. This is my Purple Heart Challenge. This is the Purple Heart. This is what the story's about. Not me. It's about the Purple Heart. Please tell your story. I challenge you, please. If not you, your children, your grandchildren, anyone, gather the information you can and tell the story. And if you hear more and get more information, come back on and give that information too. It's all about the Purple Heart. It's about our veterans. It's about the people we love and the people who loved enough to save their lives. The first responders. The man who saved my father's life was a first responder, even though he was probably a civilian. There's no way to thank him or his family, but I do. We just celebrated victory over Europe. I'm sure England and someplace in Europe they celebrated it, even though we have this COVID virus going on. I figure if I don't tell it, something could happen and I wouldn't get to tell it. It could happen to others and they couldn't get to tell it. I don't have any makeup on. It's been 2 years since I wore makeup. I don't know if I could put it on anymore. VFW Day is September the 29th. Purple Heart Day is August the 7th. And of course there's the 4th of July for us, which is not necessarily a Veterans Day. And there may be more Veteran Days out there that I don't know about, but this is what I know. And well, I just want to issue a Purple Heart Challenge to all those who managed to watch it all the way through. Please tell your story. If you don't, no one will ever know, and everybody all over the world needs to know this. I know there are plenty of them in Europe that deserve a Purple Heart, and I don't know what they got. But our boys here in America get Purple Hearts. And I thank you for listening to me, and I'll try to come on again and tell you more about my family. There was almost 10 in our family that was at one time or another in the military. I think 2 of them were lifers. And this is from the 50s, well, Dad, if you count Dad, the 40s to now. I'll try to tell something about them too. And everybody have a good day, a nice weekend, and don't let my tears hurt. You know, it's life, and it goes on. And I thank you for listening to me. Remember, it's a Purple Heart Challenge.